All right, today's Saturday, and today I got something big planned. This is Luke, Captain Carnivore. Today, let's make carnivore butter bites. Let's do it. All right, so I'm going to try to keep things fairly simple and straightforward. Um, so my setup is pretty simple. Medium-sized saucepan, your favorite spoon, and I have these silicone candy molds, which are going to be used for something much, much better than any candy I've ever had. Oh, and well, of course, I've got some smoked Redmond's smoked salt, which I'll show you the bag in a minute. But anyways, let me gather a few more things. Okay, so this I may have showed this before. Redmond's Redmond's real smoked salt. I used a cherry. They have other kinds. This is my favorite. Um, and we're going to use two 8-ounce blocks of Kerrygold pure Irish butter, basically a pound, of course. That's what I normally do, and what that'll do is it will fill up basically this whole tray. Maybe not quite all the way, but basically all the way. And yeah, so let's get started. The process is super simple. We're going to put these in there. All right, here we go. Put that in there like that. Like I said, this is super simple. This is one of the very, very few, besides my beef snacks, probably the only other quote unquote snack that I partake in. It's I don't know, maybe it's an acquired taste. Let's turn the heat on. We're going to turn the heat on kind of low at the moment. We're just going to slow. This is right out of the refrigerator, so it's not even to room temperature. So it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take a little bit to soften up and melt. So essentially, the whole process is to reduce, not really reduce necessarily, but melt this butter down, and we're going to boil it. We're going to boil off a lot of the moisture, so to speak. And after a while, it goes through different stages of I don't speak butter in that regard, so I don't know exactly what's happening. But eventually, it's gonna get to a stage where it starts to brown on the very bottom. So, and I'll show you when we get there. So when you scrape your spoon, you'll see it start to turn a little bit brown. That's when everything stops. I have actually taken it further than that and try to add a little bit of toasty flavor to the butter. Basically, for my taste, it essentially ruined it. But yeah, let's get this melted down. The salt comes in at the very end. I put the salt on after I pour it into the mold. Sprinkle a little bit of salt over it. That's just how I do it. I may be the only one in the world that does it like that. I don't know. Anyways, let's get this melted down. So the other day, my good friend Carnivore Ron put a video up in regards to some drinks that he likes to use when he's eating the carnivore lifestyle. And he happened to mention a soda stream. Here I have a soda water that I made on the rocks. I don't have anything else in it, but let's go for it here. Yep, bubble water on ice. Now, notice the nice crystal glass. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but I did not throw away my glasses. Everything else got tossed, but I had to save my glasses. I like these things. These are great. And it's a perfect little tumbler glass for my my bubble water. It's great. Hey, Ron, good choice. Little seltzer water or a little bit of lime. Sometimes I put a little lime in it or lemon. Anyways, these are great. All right, so I'm going to try not to get this video to last 2.5, 3 hours with me blabbering about something, but I've got something to say about butter. Now, maybe not something to say, but I've always said, and I've always loved butter. So eating butter is like no big feat for me. I mean, it's any day that I don't eat butter, that's when I get into trouble. But I tell you what, I've always told everybody in my family and say, hey, listen, no matter what you're cooking, if you're not cooking with butter, it's wrong. Plain and simple. If you're not using butter, if you're cooking something, you're doing it wrong. Just remember that, and then no matter what you cook, has a much better chance of being good. Although, to be honest with you, all I cook is essentially meat anymore, so can't really go wrong with that. But anyways, pass that little tidbit along. If you're not cooking with butter, you're doing it wrong. All right, towards the end of this process, I also have this Pyrex 2 cup thing right here. Normal, I've got an actual bigger one, but I think my grandson probably used it for some kind of science experiment or something. I can't seem to find it, but we'll make do with this one right here. And when we're all done, I'll take and transfer it into this to let it cool off a little bit before we pour it into the mold. But hey, we'll get there soon enough. All right, so it's starting to melt a little bit. Obviously, still kind of a couple of chunks in there, but I have the heat down to kind of a low, kind of a low medium. Nothing real drastic here. We're just trying to get this into complete liquid form. And by the way, I am no butter bite expert. This is just what I do. Um, like I said, I watched a couple of people online, and then I thought I was good enough to go. So that's what I do. And then, I just kind of modified my. I didn't modify the technique. Basically, the only thing I did different was add a little extra salt. And hey, when you start adding smoked salt, hey, now you're talking my language. Now you're talking. All right, we're getting closer. About 85, 90% of it already melted. So I'm going to keep it at this temperature. Come in here occasionally, give it a stir. I mean, there's really no risk of it burning, at least from my experience at this stage. But kind of give it a little whirl here just to keep things moving around and yeah, kind of scrape the sides a little bit. Nothing real. I mean, it's just boiling, heating up butter to boil it. So it goes through a couple of interesting stages. I don't understand what's going on here, but after you do it once or twice, it's but the only real secret that I have found is just shutting it off in time before you burn it. You want it at the brown stage, not the dark, black, nasty charcoal. You don't want that. That's bad. That's bad. Just a little bit of caramelized brown. Well, we're not even close to there. This process probably takes 20 or 30 minutes to give you an idea. And I'm into this process here, heck, I don't know, maybe less than 5 minutes at this particular stage. So, anyways, let's keep this going here. Be back in a second. Okay, so let's see a little bit. This just started. Little bit of bubbling action going on. So I don't know, the fat solids or whatever's going on in the butter, they're starting to, I don't know, do their thing. Starting to do their little dance in there. So they started to bubble a little bit, and of course, I don't want it to bubble and splash all over my stove or kitchen. So give it a little stir. Adjust the heat if necessary, so you don't. I mean, obviously, you're not doing this on high. For heaven's sakes, not on high. I've got it at kind of a medium low at the moment, so we'll kind of keep monitoring this just to keep it nice and steady. It goes through its own transformation basically all by itself without getting too crazy with raising and lowering the heat and doing this or that. Just let it do its thing all by itself. And we're just continuing on here. It gets a little bubbly a little bit of foam on top. That's fine. That's actually probably some of it what will cook down and actually float down to the bottom here in a little bit and start to brown and caramelize on the bottom of the pan, which therefore kind of gives it its brown butter character, I guess. But we just kind of keep it stirred up over here a little bit. It's you know This is carnivore. In my opinion, this is carnivore candy. And the ironic thing is you basically make it like you would candy, except this is better. So, yeah, we'll just keep this going. And as soon as I get to anything real fun and cool, I'll bring you guys back. Okay, same old thing here, but you can kind of see a little bit of steam coming off. Oh yeah, see now it's getting a little angry. So it's getting a little bit of heat to it. You stop stirring for about 30 or 40 seconds, and it starts to speed up on you a little bit. So kind of give it a little whirl here. Like I said, it'll bubble over. You don't want to splash on yourself, of course, but it got a little bit on my stove there, and that's fine. So I'm gonna keep moving around. I think I'm gonna drop the temperature a little bit. I know earlier I said basically you can just leave it where it's at, but if you think you might have it up a little bit too high, crank it down. We're not trying to have a hard boil here. Um, crank it up to 10 or whatever it is on the stove there. You don't want to do that. Just keep it at a steady pace here. And of course, if you stop stirring, then it gets a little bit angry. So we're just going to keep this going here. Yeah. So I'm into this project to about 10 minutes so far. And I don't know. I estimate that we're probably maybe halfway there. You can see the foam is kind of starting to I don't know, clump up a little bit. It's interesting when you make it for the first couple of times. You'll notice that the butter oil, the butter will go through, I don't know, some interesting stages. See, it kind of coats my spoon a little bit. It's kind of interesting, but anyways, it goes through its little different stages. But basically, the only thing I keep track of is I'm just scraping the bottom of the pan with my spoon. And the minute that I start seeing little bits of brown residue, essentially, on the bottom, that's when I know I'm done. Not before, and certainly don't go too much further than that, or else you'll have more than just brown bits. You'll have burnt bits. Burnt is bad. Brown, light brown, good. Simple. So you notice that first initial layer of foam that was there is kind of all gone, I guess. And then the next stage, if I remember correctly, it's a different kind of foam. It's really interesting. As soon as we get closer to the end of this, the foam will turn into like a real thick meringue, like like a sea foam or something. You'll see. It's interesting, and that's at the point where it starts to caramelize on the bottom of the pan. You can tell right now. See, I'm scratching the bottom of the pan, and there's just nothing there yet. So we're getting closer. We're just not quite there. Okay. Now we're getting a little bit closer here. So some of that stuff that had been floating around on the top, the initial foam, it's down on the bottom now, and we got different kinds of bubbles on top. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of fascinating. I don't know what's going on in there. Honestly, I really don't care. All I know is I'm just looking for the brown part of the brown butter before I turn it into bites. That's all I care about. So yeah, I think back in the day I heard these referred to as fat bombs or something like that for the ketogenic diet. Didn't really understand the whole principle behind it, but when I'm at work, I take these things to work with me, and I don't know, I take 4 or 5 of them or something like that. And currently I work nights, so on my night shift I start getting tired at, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Man, I go over and I pop one of these things in. It's like eating a candy bar for energy. It's like bam, and except that it tastes so much better than a candy bar. I mean, it's once you develop if you don't really like butter or like salt or smoked salt, I don't know why you wouldn't like smoked salt. It's It's fantastic. But like I said, to each his own. My wife tried one and she did not like it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. Well, see, now we get a little bit different bubble action coming up on top here. So we're getting close. We are getting closer. So I'll just keep the camera running here for another minute instead of cutting out all the time. See if we can get to this to its final stage here. Yeah, we're still have a minute or two. I'll bring you back in a second when we get a little bit closer. Okay, so the foam is starting to get a little bit thicker on top here. That means normally, from what I can recollect, that means we're getting pretty close. And I just keep scraping the bottom of the pan, keep it swirling around here. And you can oh, we're getting close. We're getting closer. I kind of like to, that's, just the beginning. Yeah, a person could probably stop right here, but you're kind of missing the bonus of the extra brown party of the bite. So you can see the foam really starting to get significantly thicker. That tells me we're dialing in of where I like to stop this process. Your mileage may vary. Maybe you want a little bit more caramely, and you can actually see it track in the foam. At least I can. I don't know if you can too. I hope so. We're getting very, very close. Very close. The foam getting real thick, like a meringue. So let's kind of hard to see here. I don't know if I can get this on the camera or not. Just a few more seconds. We're probably about close to 20 minutes in to this process. See how thick that foam is getting all of a sudden? The minute you get to that, then you know you're dialed in, getting close. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, a little bit of brown. See, oh, there we go. There's the brown in the meringue. We are done. Take it off the heat. Keep stirring it. You can see the spoon. A little bit of brown on there. Yeah. So, oh yeah, see it starting to kick up in the foam a little bit there. Make sure I'm in camera range here. All right. I'm going to set this on the back burner, off the heat naturally. I'm going to let that sit. Just let it sit. You don't need to put it in the fridge or anything right yet. But what we're actually going to do, I'm going to let it sit down, let it settle down, pour it into my little Pyrex container, and then I'll pour it into the mold. I'll show you how I do that, how I do it. Like there's any secret, but this is just how I do it. Sprinkle some salt on it, and then I throw it in the freezer until it basically solidifies and freezes, and bam, ready to roll. Okay, let's let it sit for a minute. So while I got that pan sitting over there cooling off for a little bit, this right here is a finished one. You can see a little bit of the brown on the bottom because that's, I poured it just like that in that mold. And you can see a little brown specks on there. That's not from the brown butter. That is just remnants of smoked salt, and it goes throughout the whole entire butter bite. So as you're biting through it, I just pop it in my mouth like I'm eating a Werther's caramel candy that I used to love and eat, and just suck the thing down to nothing like a sucker. But that smoked salt, I'm telling you, give it a try. You'll thank me later. Okay, so I've kind of let this cool off for a couple minutes. I kind of took the mold out of my aluminum pan here to kind of keep the mess down to a minimum. Got my jar, my cup sitting right here. So, as you can see, the bottom of the pan, a little bit of brown. It's kind of brown, like brown butter. Go figure. So now, let's transfer this into this. Let's see if I can do this at the same time I'm videoing. Just kind of pour it all in there. You can see the little, there's the brown right there. The brown part of the brown butter bites. Delicious. Especially if you like butter. Put that over there. And there we go. So I'll take and leave. Well, I think what I'll do here, make my life easy, bring my mold back over, put the mold back there, And I don't pour it in quite yet. Let's take my spoon and put it right there. I just set this, I'm going to set it over on the counter, still pretty warm. I just let it cool off until it's just not so boiling hot. And it's not boiling hot now, but I'm going to bring it down a little bit in temperature, a little bit closer to room temperature. Be back in a minute. Okay, so let's get ready to pour this. It's cooled off a little bit. It's got some, you got to stir it up. It's kind of the stuff in the bottom, that the brown part is kind of caked up a little bit at the bottom. Let me see if I can get back in the frame here. Sorry about that. So let's give it a little bit of pour here and see what happens. Let's see if you can see what's going on here. I'm just going to pour it into each little pocket here. I don't fill it all the way to the top on each one, and I'll show you why here in a second, because as I'm pouring it, let's check my camera, assuming you can see what the heck I'm doing here. All the solids are on the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll fill these things up almost all the way. And then I'll go in and I'll scrape the bottom and basically scoop out a little bit of the brown solids on the bottom of this cup, and then dump it into each little pocket. And then they float to the bottom. So when you pull these things out, you got this little layered butter bite. Pretty cool. So let's get this poured up here. Nothing special about it. And I'll be back in a second when I'm done. Okay, so you can kind of see. Yeah, see that? Kind of like mud. It's butter mud. It's better than mud. Healthier too. Well, maybe not. Depends on where your mud comes from. Anyways, let's pour this in a little, and you can see it. So then I'll take a little, see if I can get this on camera here so you guys see what the heck I'm doing. I was taking, sprinkle a little bit over the top of these other ones here. Just like that. It's not very scientific. I don't really measure things too much. I'm more of a results individual. Does it work or doesn't work? And it works. At least it works for me. It'll work for you too. You got this. So let's fill out this mold here real quick. Some are going to have more solids in it than others. Who the hell cares? This is our project. That's my project. There we go. Down and dirty, but it works. Put that in the sink. So now, I have to admit, as far as making this stuff, it's one of my favorite parts. They can sprinkle it on there. I mean, it's what kind of candy you're going to make that doesn't have sprinkles on it? So I've taken just drop some in on top of each one. You don't want to overdo it unless you really want a little bit of butter with your salt. Yeah, sprinkle it on there, just like that. And I don't know if anybody can remember the great Emeril Lagasse. I'm assuming he's still with us. But anyways, if you don't know Emeril Lagasse, at the end of every cook, you take his salt and go, bam! It's fantastic. Watch Emeril Lagasse. You might learn something too. All right. So this is it. Into the freezer. Put it in the freezer. That's why I've got it in a kind of a cookie pan with aluminum foil to keep my mess to a minimum. And I slide it into the freezer, let it sit, and then you're done. Break them out, put them in a container. I store mine in the freezer, and enjoy. All right, guys. Hey, like and subscribe. Hope you had fun. This is a long video. I apologize, but hey, we're talking butter here. You've got to put your time in and talk butter when you can. It's great. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging around. Like and subscribe. I appreciate it, all of you, and we'll catch you on the next one.